Disasters can affect any country in the world, but often the impacts are most serious in countries where people are poor. This is because people in those countries might find it difficult to prepare for and deal with disasters. And often it is the very poorest people in those countries who suffer the most when disaster strikes. People who are very poor might not have strong houses that can survive in storms and earthquakes. Or they might not have the savings to buy food if their crops die in a drought. And if they're living in a poor country, the government might not be able to provide much help either. They are not likely to have any savings that would cover the cost of any damages that a flood might do. But simple steps can make a big difference to what happens to people when a disaster hits. Christian Aid supports partner organisations in many of the poorest parts of the world to try to make sure that people can cope with disasters. Sometimes this means helping people with the basic things that they need after a disaster hits. For example, after a serious hurricane, flood or earthquake, survivors will need food, clean water, medical equipment and shelter. Christian Aid works with people all around the world who are able to help quickly when an emergency happens. After the tsunami struck countries around the Indian Ocean in 2004, Christian Aid's partners were on the scene within hours to hand out emergency supplies. And in Haiti, our staff were called into action just after the earthquake struck. Christian Aid does not collect materials in the UK to send to a disaster zone. Instead, we support our partners, local people with local knowledge and skills, who are able to understand what is happening in the affected country and what people living there need most urgently. Of course, it can take people a long time to recover from a disaster. Even once houses have been rebuilt and injuries have healed, many people need help to get their lives back to normal. Long after the TV cameras have left and the newspapers have stopped reporting about a disaster, Christian Aid partners are able to keep providing the support that people need to recover from a disaster. They understand that it's really important that people are helped to prepare in case another disaster strikes again. For example, in Guatemala, Christian Aid partners helped people living near the sea to make sure that they have advance warning via radio or phone when a bad storm is coming so that they can get to safety. And in Kenya, Christian Aid partners are helping farmers to deal with the possibility of future droughts by sending weather forecasts by text message to farmers' mobile phones. While in Ethiopia, farmers are shown the best techniques to look after the health of their cattle during drought. In Pakistan, people living in places affected by the serious floods in 2010 are being given training in how to build boats so that they can more easily escape floodwater. And in India, people affected by flooding are being helped to rebuild their damaged homes. And in Haiti, Christian Aid partners are helping to build strong houses that won't fall down if another earthquake happens. Christian Aid also works by asking governments to make sure that things are fairer in the world. So it asks governments to make the rules about money fairer so that governments in poorer countries will have more money to help their people if a disaster strikes. It also asks governments to make sure that they try to stop the pollution that causes climate change, which is making disasters related to extreme weather, like floods, droughts and storms, worse. Next time a big disaster strikes, let's think about what we can do to help.